Do you know your literary rights?
People who resort to violence are illiterate. See, they don't think about their actions before they do it. Instead of taking my anger and frustration out on violence, I put it into my poetry, I put it into my words. And this poem I'm about to recite is me venting on my frustration of my childhood and drugs.
Everyone should have the opportunity to learn how to read and write. Sadly, that is not the case. Yes, we have our first Black president in the history of the United States.
They say committing suicide is crazy, yet killing yourself with drugs, it's all gravy. Yeah, I know, it's hard in these streets. Some people rather live on their knees rather than die on their feet, and the adults are supposed to be the role models, yet they get addicted to crack, meth, and beer bottles. It's crazy how they talk about our generation. They brought us in this world. We couldn't decline that invitation. And those drugs make them more wild than kids at recess. But that's no surprise. And they say getting older makes you wiser. And yeah, we learn lessons in life. You went to rehab 3 times but dropped out twice. Getting burned once is supposed to provide a lesson after. But by the time you learn your lesson, you're gonna be Casper. Or by the time you learn your lesson, you're gonna be a grandparent. And my kids ain't going through the same as me. Make that transparent. I was a good kid. As a child, all I wanted was love, but it seemed like the only thing you loved was drugs. And sometimes when I wanted to go in the front room, you would tell me to go in my room and not come out till I was told. I wonder now why you thought I was too young to understand things. I mean, I was young, but my mind was mature. It was old. I knew certain things that 6-year-old kids shouldn't know or even care about. Late nights when you weren't home, I would stay up and worry about your whereabouts. And when you did come in, I would pretend like I was sleeping, but in reality, I had my bedroom door crack peeking.
And yes, we have our first Latina as member of the Supreme Court. But did you know that an access to a quality education is not a civil right or liberty for every person, particularly urban youth who live in communities plagued by violence? Do you know your literary rights?
Peeking outside to see what you were doing, heating a white substance on the stove with a spoon. Back then, I thought it was mashed potatoes, or well, I assumed. But then I learned and realized that what you were doing was bad, because I caught you doing it one time and you tried to hide it. And the people I call uncle, I grew to hate because I learned that they helped provide it. They helped provide the addiction that you had before I was thought of, before I was even born. The thoughts of us never being a real family has pierced my heart like a needle with thorn. Throughout the years, my grandma told me to pray. She said God would help. So throughout the years, I prayed so many times to myself like, God help my mother. God change my mother. I just don't understand why I have to suffer.
I know my literary rights and I have the right to speak. Right to protect.
Right to serve.
Right to know.
Right to promote.
Right to inform.
Right to challenge.
Right to humanity.
Right to change.
Right to choose.
Right to vote.
Right to inspire.
Right to forgive.
Right to freedom.
Right to equality.
Right to liberty.
I know my literary rights.
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 Once you learn to read, you will forever be free.
Here at Living Literature, we believe that the United States Constitution Bill of Rights apply to all of us. Particularly, we want urban youth to know that they have the right to read and write. By doing so, they have access to quality education, professions, and careers and jobs that will allow them to be productive citizens in society. It is important for them to know also that their words can be used as weapons and powerful tools for change in our society. Do you know your literary rights? You should.